Mort, you will never guess what I bought on the internet.
You're right, I'm not gonna bother guessing. I don't want to.
Get this. It's a ghost. Check it out.
You moron! That's not a ghost, that's a toast!
Hey stranger, welcome back. Have you ever seen a ghost? Maybe you are a ghost. We at Mortar and Ivy Don't Judge. Leave a comment below if you are, in fact, a spooky ghost. Some debate the existence of ghosts, but these people are stern, cold, prudish teetotalers. Rarely are they seen in pubs, where inebriation, alcoholism, and outlandish stories abound. Fights often break out in pubs, that's a fact, and many fights feature knives. People get stabbed. Sometimes they die, etc. These are all good reasons pubs remain a popular place to witness vengeful spirits of the dearly drunken departed, especially when these pubs are hundreds of years old. We at Mortar and Ivy have collected the spookiest stories from England's bazillion or so haunted drinking houses and narrowed it for you. I'm Johnny, the folklore guy, and these are England's 8 most haunted pubs. Number 8. Marsden Grotto, South Shields, Tyne+Wear. Marsden Grotto is a cliffside pub and restaurant in the Tyne+Wear region of northern England. It is accessed by its landmark tower lift erected in the late 1930s. The Grotto is a cave bar, a rare iconic type of establishment not unlike England's famously ancient Ye Old Trip to Jerusalem. One famous phantom resident of the locale is John the Gibber. John was allegedly a 19th century smuggler caught ratting out fellow smugglers to Her Majesty's Customs. To make a point and avoid prosecution, these criminals sealed John in an ale barrel and hung the container cliffside until John died of exposure and dehydration. It is believed by legend that the Gibber's ghost possesses a tankard that a previous landlord would set out each night. When radio personality Alan Robson drank from the tankard in a local legend and folklore segment, many mysterious things escalated. Ashtrays would inexplicably fling about, scattering their dusty contents. Barrel taps would mysteriously open, spilling beer, and even the cellar would flood. Eventually, the landlord sold the property off, among other things, citing the damages caused by John's poltergeist. The haunted tankard has since mysteriously disappeared, though a replica is on display to visitors. During a 2001 UK TV investigation, paranormal researchers claimed to identify no fewer than 7 different ghosts, including the murdered Gibber. It should also be noted the Grotto's entrance has changed more times than Boris Johnson's populist stances towards domestic policy, and would likewise as likely trigger continual spiritual unrest. Number 7. Ye Old Yew Tree, Westbere, Kent. Built in 1348, Westbere's Olde Yew Tree is perhaps the oldest pub structure in Kent, though has only been operating as such since the 1830s. Village history records the shop being a grocer in the early 19th century. Owner Thomas March perhaps took advantage of the Beer House Act of 1830 and became the location's first ale licensee. Originally called the Palm Tree, it became the Yew Tree around 1901. Before that, the building served many functions, some whimsical, some grim. It was during the English Civil War. In the 1640s, this building was used to treat and convalesce wounded soldiers. According to legend, 2 of these departed soldiers missed the train to the great beyond and linger still, haunting publicans in clever, unexplainable ways. How the patrons and proprietors tell these 2 particular souls apart is, well, beyond me. It should also be of note the old yew borders the Westbere marshes, where many swamp gases might just play roles in these alleged hauntings. Number 6. Ye Old King's Head, Chester. Though Chester's Old King's Head was built in 1622, its foundations date back as long ago as the 1200s. Many claim some of its later added timbers were upcycled from Admiral Nelson's sunken ships. Its long storied history, both tragic and triumphant, has led to the legends of many hauntings to this particular inn, some claiming no fewer than 13 ghosts, because any less would be unimpressive. 2 men died here dueling over a young woman whom both loved. Today, a dueling sword is displayed above the bar, found during some 1930s excavations. Chefs have claimed knives were thrown at them in the kitchen. Does the duel continue on this day? Some guests have claimed to have seen a mysterious man in black, either watching them from the doorway or at the foot of their bed. Others have spotted the phantom of a young child wandering, hiding, and looking for something, something the living know not what, cannot see, or simply have yet unturned. Number 5. The Devil's Stone, Shibir, Devon. This 17th century former farmhouse, like the old King's Head, also boasts the phantom of a young girl running about the corridors playfully laughing. Let's face it, children are frightening. Perhaps more frightening than skeletons. Or the Amish. According to legend, a Royal Air Force pilot died here during the Second World War, specifically in room 4. Many claim seeing his apparition in full uniform, even smoking at the bar below. The Devil's Stone is awash with unexplained happenings, doors and windows opening unaided, photos scattering across the floor, taps mysteriously turning and running water, beds unmaking themselves, and never mind the many unexplained knocks and bumps in the night. To keep evil at bay and spirits at rest, local residents of Shibir gather each Guy Fawkes Day to turn a large glacial erratic in the churchyard. Only once in modern history, during World War II, did the villagers fail the ceremony of turning the stone. And records have it, it was a pretty terrible year. Number 4. The Ancient Ram Inn, Wotton-under-Edge, Gloucestershire. The Ancient Ram in Wotton-under-Edge, Gloucestershire is said to be one of the most haunted builds in all of England. Many legends surround the 12th century former rectory that is rumored to have housed slaves, witnessed witch burnings, and even hosted the odd satanic ritual. The witch's room is haunted by, well, a witch, who allegedly died at the stake in the 1500s. The bishop's room is said to be the most haunted, and regularly visited by a grumbling monk who disdains tidiness and enjoys creating messes. Other famous residents include a Roman centurion who passes through walls at will, as well as a succubus famed for luring men to carnal desires. The ram is believed to exist at the concourse of 2 powerful ley lines, and is claimed to be a sinkhole depository of dark energy. One previous landlord discovered what appeared to be the remains of a child used in satanic sacrifice, among other occultish objects. The ram has been focus of many paranormal television programs, including Ghost Adventures, Most Haunted, Great British Ghosts, a similar Danish program, and Canada's Aberration into the Unknown. Number 3. The Ostrich, Colnbrook, Slough, Berkshire. Hey, if you're a fan of murder, look no further than the Ostrich Inn in the tiny town of Colnbrook, set in Slough, Berkshire. Mentioned in William the Conqueror's Domesday Book, the Ostrich was of several coaching inns in Colnbrook, which were the village's main industry in the early 12th century. Originally called the Hospice, it is thought its current name derived by way of spoken corruption, a common folk linguistic phenomenon. Britain's 3rd oldest inn is said to have hosted no less than 60 murders. On the bright side, in its 910 years of operation, that's only like 1 murder every 15 years. Famous landlord Mr. Jarman was perhaps the most prolific, making lucrative profit murdering his wealthier guests by boiling them alive and selling their belongings to gypsies during the 17th century. But yet the dead remain. Bizarre behavior at this location includes spooky, unexplained noises, phantom figures wandering the halls at night, a Victorian woman walking the corridors, and strikingly cold burst in the women's restroom, which just happens to be where Jarman's pantry, where he stored his bodies, was. Jarman was perhaps the archetype Sweeney Todd. When you visit the Ostrich, be sure to sample the pies, eh? Number 2. The Golden Fleece, York. This inn of the early 16th century is full of a diverse array of haunting residents, and like the Ancient Ram, was even visited by the Most Haunted team in 2005. Some of its residents include a Canadian airman who died jumping out a window in 1945, a late 17th century gentleman who enjoys what else? Walking through walls, One-Eyed Jack, a cyclopic 18th century man in a red coat brandishing a pistol of the era, Lady Anne Peckett, the estranged wife of a former York mayor who regularly walks the pub's staircase, and of course, the ghost of a young boy that was trampled to death by horses during the mid to late 19th century. I did say children were terrifying, did I not? Beside the many full-bodied apparitions, pub patrons regularly complain of their bed covers removed at night, footsteps scurrying across the hall, clothing and items removed from rails and thrown to the floor, and many other things that go weird in the night. Number 1, the Red Lion, Avebury, Wiltshire. In the heart of Wiltshire, smack dab within the ancient Avebury stone circle, and not far from many mysterious Neolithic henge monuments, lies the Red Lion. Avebury is famous for its supernatural activity, much attributed to the mysteries of the mystic prehistoric people that built the monuments. Perhaps it's a place where spirits simply exist. You can check in, but you can never check out. At least 5 ghosts reside within the Red Lion, including its most famous phantasm, Flory. Flory's husband fought in the English Civil War. Upon returning home, he found his young wife carousing with another unwelcome young gentleman. Did he cry? Did he leave? No. He slit her throat and threw her down a well. You know, as you do. Locals claim the floozy Flory tends to favor pub visitors with beards especially, so maybe consider shaving if you prefer a full night's sleep. She has also appeared in the ladies' room, because as expressed before, she's quite a pervert. And one former Republican reported her throwing condiments across the tables in the restaurant. So hold on to the salt next time you visit this historic landmark. Other spooks of the Red Lion include a pair of children who haunt the Avenue room, because as before, children are the devil and scarier than death. Also regularly witnessed is a phantom carriage drawn by undead mares that clatters up the road and parks in front of the establishment. No thanks. I'll stick to Uber. That's our list. What do you think? Any other spooky drinking wells we might have left out? Leave a comment below and perhaps we'll include them in a sequel vid. That is, if we're still alive. I've been Johnny. You're always welcome in my corner of the pub.